The night was like an indelible thick ink, blurring all the luxury and hustle and bustle of Lin City. Suwon sat in the booth, her fingers clutching a cold glass. The water droplets on the wall sliding down between her fingers, like the panic that had nowhere to go at this moment. The man opposite was wearing a well-tailored black suit, his tie-dyed neatly at the neckline, his jawline tight, and a pair of deep black eyes locked on her firmly. His gaze was too scorching to strong, as if he wanted to devour her whole. He was Lu Chengyuan, the ruler of Lu's group, who was known to everyone in Lin City and no one dared to provoke. He had ruthless methods and a cold temperament, able to turn the tide with a flip of his hand. Rumor had it that he had never been moved by anyone, let alone put anyone in his eyes. And Suwon was just an ordinary person who accidentally broke into his world, someone who was pushed by fate to stand in front of him. Their entanglement began with an accident. Suwon's father owed a huge debt, and when he had no way out, he gave her to Lu Chengyuan to pay off that endless debt. That day, Suwon was wearing a faded dress, standing in Lu Chengyuan's cold and luxurious office, like a weed crushed by wind and rain, raising her head stubbornly, her eyes full of unwillingness and resistance. "Mr. Lu, I won't be your lover, nor will I accept your charity. I will find a way to pay back this money myself." Her voice was trembling, but she still refused to bow her head, like a cat with its fur raised, obviously trembling with fear, yet pretending to be fierce to show its claws. Looking at her appearance, Lu Chengyuan curled his thin lips into a very faint, cold arc, his tone without the slightest woe. "Suwon, you have no choice. From the moment your father signed that agreement, you belong to me." His words like a cold knife pierced Suwon's last stubbornness and cut off all her retreats. That day, he did not force her to do anything, but arranged her in a villa under his name, sent someone to take care of her, but also cut off all her contact with the outside world, confining her within his territory like raising a pet. In the initial days, Suwon tried every means to resist. She went on a hunger strike, trying to fight his control. With her body she smashed things, breaking all the breakable things in the villa into pieces. She even tried to escape, but every time she was easily caught back by Lu Chengyuan's men. Then what awaited her was his more severe imprisonment and the deeper and deeper possessiveness in his eyes. Once she secretly climbed over the villa's wall at night and ran forward with all her strength. The cold wind stung her cheeks, and the stones under her feet wore out her shoe soles, oozing blood, but she dared not stop. She just wanted to escape that cold cage and that suffocating man. But just as she was about to reach the intersection, a black Bentley stopped steadily in front of her, its headlights dazzling, stretching her figure very long. Lu Chengyuan pushed open the car door and got out, his black windbreaker fluttering in the night wind. His face was extremely gloomy, and his eyes were surging with anger, which seemed to burn her to ashes. "Run. Why don't you run anymore?" He walked towards her step by step, his voice deep and hoarse, with suppressed anger, every step stepping on Suwon's heart. Suwon trembled all over, her legs went weak, and she almost fell to the ground, but she still bit her lips stubbornly and refused to look up at him. Lu Chengyuan walked up to her, bent down, grabbed her chin hard, forcing her to look up at him. His fingers were cold, and his strength was so great that he seemed to crush her chin. "Suwon, remember your identity. You are mine. You will never escape me in this life." His tone was cold to the bone, but there was a hint of imperceptible panic, as if he was afraid that she would really disappear from his world completely. That time, after Suwon was brought back to the villa by him, she was not locked up again, but Lu Chengyuan stayed by her side every step of the way. He was no longer cold or harsh to her, but used a kind of almost paranoid tenderness to erode her defense line little by little. He would remember that she didn't eat coriander. He would personally cook brown sugar ginger tea for her when she had her period. He would silently stay by her side when she stayed up late, put a coat on her, and he would awkwardly comfort her when she occasionally showed fragility, using his unskilled tenderness to melt the ice in her heart little by little. Suwon was not hard-hearted. She could feel his changes, could feel the tenderness and doting in his eyes. But she also always remembered that she was confined here by him, forcibly possessed by him, and tamed by him. She told herself countless times not to be moved, not to be confused by his tenderness. But the defense line in her heart collapsed little by little under his daily doting. One day, she was sick, having a high fever. Her whole body was burning hot, and her consciousness was blurred. In her drowsiness she felt someone taking care of her all the time, wiping her body, feeding her medicine, giving her warm water. That hand was gentle and strong, with a familiar smell. She opened her heavy eyelids and saw Lu Chengyuan sitting by her bed, his eyes full of exhaustion, with faint dark circles under his eyes, obviously having stayed up all night. His fingertips gently stroked her forehead, his movements as gentle as possible, completely different from the cold and strong Lu Chengyuan usual. Lu Chengyuan, why are you doing this? Suwon's voice was weak and hoarse with a hint of confusion. She didn't understand why this man, who clearly tamed her and possessed her, gave her such doting love, putting her in a dilemma, unable to resist. Lu Chengyuan looked at her, the exhaustion in his eyes faded, replaced by deep tenderness and paranoia. He held her hand, pressed her hand against his chest, and his voice was deep and serious. Because I want you, not just to possess you, but also to make you stay by my side willingly, to make your heart belong entirely to me alone. At that moment Suwon's tears couldn't help but fall. Not because of grievance, not because of unwillingness, but because of powerlessness. She had to admit that she had completely fallen in love with this man under his daily imprisonment and doting. She once tried her best to resist and escape, but in the end, she found that he had already tamed her in his own way, firmly controlling everything about her. And the doting he gave was like a gentle net, wrapping her tightly, making her sink willingly, unable to resist. Since then, Suwon no longer resisted, no longer tried to escape. She began to learn to accept his love, accept his doting, and accept the fact that she was possessed by him. Lu Chengyuan also became more gentle and doting. He would take her to see the scenery she wanted to see, accompany her to do the things she wanted to do, spoil her into a carefree little princess, and satisfy all her requests, as long as she stayed by his side and her heart belonged to him. Someone once asked Suwon, did she regret it? Regret being tamed by him? Regret being possessed by him? Suwon just shook her head with a smile, her eyes full of tenderness. She didn't regret it, because she knew that Lu Chengyuan's taming was not harm, but the deepest protection his possession was not imprisonment, but the most sincere love. He used the strongest way to keep her by his side, and then held her in his palm with the most doting love, letting her not have to grow up, not have to be strong, not have to bear all the wind and drain alone in his world. The night was still thick, but the villa was warm. Suwon leaned in Lu Chengyuan's arms, looking at the starlight outside the window, her fingers gently sliding across his chest. Feeling his steady heartbeat, Lu Chengyuan held her tightly, his chin resting on the top of her hair, his eyes full of doting and possession. He whispered in her ear, Wan, you are mine, this life, the next life forever. Suwon closed her eyes, a gentle smile raised on her lips, and replied softly, well, I am yours, forever. He once thought that being tamed and possessed was a shame, a shackle, but it was not until she met Lu Chengyuan that she understood that there is a kind of taming that is willing to sink, there is a kind of possession that is a joyful rush. He tamed her, and then possessed her with the most doting love, and she was happy to accept it, unable to resist, and unwilling to resist.